I'm not crazy. I mean, got your camera ready?
Y'all ready?
Yes, sir. Governor James, you met with a lot of high-level staff people, cabinet people today.
2-hour meeting with the Governor McMillan and Speaker McCorkadale, Attorney General Braddock, and other members of the cabinet with respect to Mobile and Baldwin counties and other areas that are affected by the hurricane. And as you know, the federal government has declared that entire area a disaster area, and federal assistance is being mobilized on a rather broad front. Of course, the state moved as soon as it could as a hurricane was coming in to secure the area, and now, of course, attention will be turned to seeing that people are fed, they're looked after medically, the streets are cleared, and we start to rebuild in record time the entire Gulf Coast. As we get into this and you look at the legalities of it, it's necessary that I issue a proclamation declaring the entire area disaster area, as we want to get set for the long pull. And we've got months ahead of us as we fully restore Gulf Shores and Dauphin Island and all of Mobile and Baldwin counties and Clark and Washington counties. In the Constitution, as you look into the law, there is opinion, there could be an opinion that it was necessary to call a special session. I've asked Attorney General to give an opinion on that, and he has just given an oral opinion that it would not be necessary to call a special session of the legislature to issue the disaster proclamation. So the disaster proclamation from my office will be forthcoming within the next 24 hours, and we feel like the Attorney General's opinion, and we'll get it tomorrow, the written opinion. He's already given me the oral opinion that we will not call a special session, but we'll go right ahead and issue this this disaster proclamation. Now, the Highway Department, Conservation Department, Forestry Department, the National Guard, Civil Defense, and State Troopers, in my judgment, have done an outstanding job. The spirit and individual will of the people of these stricken areas and their elected officials down there, their determination has been overwhelming. And I think tremendous progress is being made, but this is just the start. We wish to accelerate on all fronts the recovery operation. And a problem that looms great the next 72 hours as power is being returned is the feeding problem. And we are going on state television, statewide television, and through radio and newspapers to ask the people of Alabama, throughout Alabama, who have already responded in a generous fashion, to deliver food to their armories, to their National Guard armories, starting tonight, all day tomorrow, and through noon Saturday. And the National Guard will deliver those cargoes of food to Mobile, where it will be distributed to thousands of people that have had no power since last Wednesday. Of course, their food has spoiled in their refrigerators and in deep freezers. Grocery stores have been closed, and we've just run out of food. This effort, I think, will take us through the week. And as I have said already, the people of Alabama have responded generously. But we need an organized effort and an all-out effort to get food from the non-stricken areas north of Mobile and Baldwin counties down into these areas. So we will be mobilizing that this evening, and I would appreciate very much all of you, when you get back to your stations and your newspapers, is helping us spread this word. The locations of the national armories will be announced on radio and television and in newspapers within the next several hours, and we wish to get this underway. In the meantime, the Corps of Engineers being highly mobilized, private construction firms, and I say again, the help that has come into Mobile from Birmingham and Montgomery and Clanton, Decatur and Huntsville has been outstanding. We need to accelerate it, and we're making that plea at this moment. And there's no doubt in my mind the generosity of Alabamians to help other Alabamians who are in serious trouble through no fault of their own. It would be overwhelming. If you have any questions for any of us here now, we'd be delighted to answer them.
Are you saying that every National Guard Armory will be a place where people can bring food?
Ralph, almost.
Canned food primarily?
Yes, we are asking for canned food, crackers, cereals, charcoal, non-perishable foods, and food that can be kept for several days, and we need tons and tons of it.
What about the water situation, the drinking water? Is the water contaminated still?
That from within. We cannot get the food in as much as the commercial distribution of food is still handicapped because of the lack of power. We haven't, the federal government will play a major role here. We anticipate they will reimburse us for a great majority of those expenses. It is impossible at this point to say exactly what kind of drain it will put on state finances.
Governor James, Mobile is a very populous area, and there are a lot of tax revenues come out of there. What is that doing to the year end? The fiscal year is rapidly closing.
It's going to affect it in a negative sense, and we'll have a release to that effect here in a few hours as those numbers are now.
Will it affect proration?
It could well, yes.
Which way?
In the wrong way.
Now, Governor, why would it be necessary why would you think it could possibly be necessary for the legislature to be called into legislation?
The Constitution says that if a governor issues this aspect,
What are the powers that go along with this statute?
let Charlie talk to that.
Ralph, the legislature, and it gives, under emergency circumstances, the governor or the legislature in joint session to declare a civil defense emergency. Should the governor declare such a civil defense emergency, there is what I consider some surplusage, really, as far as invoking other areas of that particular code section, which would require the governor to call a special session of the legislature. And let me say that the code is quite vague in that it doesn't say what the duties and responsibilities of the legislature would be. We feel like it would be to protect any abuse that may be created by a certain governor. In this case, we have not that problem, and in my opinion, it would be merely a formal technicality and an exercise in futility and a waste of money. And we've got a disaster area that needs quick and prompt attention, and I feel the governor's proclamation will implement that particular section with all authority.
So, by issuing a proclamation, you call would contain any of these?
We feel that's the only reason for Saturday night.
Well, food is coming in now, and we hope that we can start making deliveries late tonight and this afternoon. Deliveries will start tonight or early in the morning. So
Food stamps come into play.
yes, they will. Year enough.
It appears that Hurricane Frederick has brought more than just death and destruction. The end of the fiscal year is this month, and Governor Fob James says the hurricane could not have had worse timing. No, let's do it again. It appears that Hurricane Frederick brought more with it. Take three. It appears that Hurricane Frederick has brought more than death and destruction. September is the end of the state's fiscal year, and Governor Fob James says the hurricane could not have come at a worse time. It appears Hurricane Frederick has brought more than death and destruction. September is the end of the fiscal year in Alabama, and Governor Fob James says the storm could not have come at a worse time.
Looks good.
Even sounded a little better. Needle, Dave, Ricky, nerd, Dave, Ricky, nerd.
Be felt next month anyway. Remember our last meeting with you, I told you that the real big push would not come until October, November, and maybe even December, because when you start out with zero monies, we're in trouble already.
How is the general fund been affected at all by the hurricane damage?
It should be affected, but it won't be affected to the extent that the trust fund is, because you know that the income and sales tax are the two big ones there. The primary consideration is those, what did I list, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 counties, I guess? That gives you almost 22% of your revenue of the state as far as the trust fund goes. Lou, if you want to grab a couple of these things for me?
The late reporting and not necessarily a shortage in the funds that will be reported.
Exactly. But see, the late reporting dictates that the year is over.
Year up.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right.
Well, it looks like for the damage, you still might have, the money might fall off because of the hurricane.
That's exactly correct. Next year, you might have even more substantial problems because of the fact that if you're counting even 5 or 6% of the 22%, for example, your Gulf Shores area or your Mobile area, as we understand, Bellengrath Gardens was wiped out and things like this. Your tourist attraction areas are going to be greatly hurt from the southeast part of the state, southwest part.
Well, how much of this loss can be conceivably looked forward to being made up, we'll say in small business loans and things of this nature? Money will still be being spent as a result of the hurricane, and it will be new money.
It will be a different type of expenditure other than what goes into the trust fund. See, what the big pluses that we have going into these sort of funds are associated a lot with vacation-type people, tourists, things like this. You're going to cut that off almost totally for that particular part of the country. Not only for a week or two or a month or two, but possibly for as much as 2 or 3 years, or even 4 or 5 before they get back on their full category.
Where is the money going to come from to repair state facilities such as the park, mansion, these other facilities of state neighborhoods?
The state insurance fund has the coverage on them, but the state insurance fund is totally self-insured, and also, I'm sorry, it's not self-insured, but rather it is reinsured, so that the total loss to the state of Alabama should be something right around $1 million is all.
I'm sorry, I was a little late. 3 to 4% proration. Did you ask the school system to send back to us?
If you read it there, that second thing says that we're not sending them the month of September until we know exactly how much funds we've got. So they won't be sent any money this month until after September's over. They haven't been sent any money yet. Traditionally, we send it to them in the 3rd or 4th week of each month. So what would delay is roughly 8 or 10 days to know what we're doing.
This has been done before, hasn't it?
Not to this extent. We haven't cut them off totally because we really haven't been to this situation before.
Well, this
That's right. But I think, go ahead.
Well, they didn't get it.
In the next fiscal year, they didn't get anything. That's right. The ramifications of this basically relate to the fact that you've got two variables there that we didn't know about. And the long-term ramifications are yet to be told. For example, you really don't know the impact on next year's revenue projections, and you won't know.
How can Social Security make a $10 million error?
Very, very good question. They just basically did the same thing that the retirement systems did for years, and that is guess at the cost. And they weren't close at all. And about 2 years ago to 3 years ago, we developed major computer systems over there to become correct on the retirement part. And I think we were 0.03% of 1% off this year because it's a function of payroll. There's a lot of variables in there. And it's hard to come to, but there you see almost a 20% error, which obviously isn't acceptable. This budget you won't really be able to tell probably until the almost the middle of the budget year.
But you're also going to lose a lot of revenue in other parts of the state as a result of those places being closed because people won't be driving through here going there.
That's exactly right.
Are you projecting a small surplus in the general fund?
Yes.
How small?
Don't really know at this time. It depends on how much we can recoup through our cutoff of the purchasing and things. That we wouldn't allow agencies, for example, a lot of agencies have tried to encumber too, which we have turned down. You mean for the state office building? No, not in the least. Because the total exposure we got there, as I just told Bessie, was Pearson, Humphreys, and Jones.
How did you select those?
We took 3 proposals. One wanted to negotiate, Sherlock Adams, and the other 2 had given different types of prices, and we took the lowest price.
What kind of price?
One was based about 5.2%, and the other one was 4.95%.
What kind of, do you have any idea what kind of building you decided on who's going to be in it?
No.
Where it's going to be?
No.
Now, you say we did. Who is we?
The governor made that decision this morning.
Okay. Now, where does the state building commission fit into the picture?
They don't.
I thought it was the responsibility of the state building commission to supervise the construction of state buildings.
That's right.
But they're not.
It's not a state building.
It's not a state building?
Not anything more than the retirement system is a state building.
Whose building is it?
That's the retirement systems.
Well, I mean, the one you're proposing, is that going to be
It's
the
the
state
state insurance fund's building.
State insurance fund building.
That's correct. It's a trust fund, just like the retirement system.
I understand that a member of the building commission has asked the Attorney General for an opinion on the legality of that.
It's fine with me. Anything
Do you
else?
have any intentions of calling a meeting with the building commission?
That's irrelevant.
Well, you said the building commission is not.
Bessie?
How did you get, I think my question would be like this, and then we'll know somebody else, but how did you get access to the land? I don't understand that.
Well, the land is, we'll talk to the speaker and the lieutenant governor, and if we can work out the problems with the legislature, we'll go there, and if we can't, we'll go some other place.
Do you have any ideas as to where you would go if you don't get that land?
Depends on if we want to go out and build a lower modern building out on the highway property and negotiate with them, or if we want to keep it here in the complex.
What kind of proposal was this? I mean, did you just ask them to come back with a proposal, or what is, like, were you talking about the number of floors or anything?
We have to just get together with everybody to make sure that we've got all the bases covered.
So, we're looking at,
No, I don't think it'll be that long. Hopefully it'll be less than 2, around 2 anyway.
this is a Montgomery architectural firm.
Kind of, 3%, what would that be, 30 million?
Right.
That's already control that parking lot or something, I don't understand that.
Well, what we'll do is work with the leaders of the legislature to see if they can, work with their respective legislative committees.
You're talking about getting legislative approval?
I'm saying. There's no question on the ability to do the other.
If the if the Attorney General says that the building commission should be consulted, will you then go to the building commission?
We just cross that bridge when it comes.
What did he say?
What will the effect of having 2 less days or closing out on the 28th, is that going to hurt you also?
Anytime you have a shorter month, it'll hurt you, but it'll really hurt us this month. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies.
Mr. Walker.